Everyone dances when I do that.
It's pretty good, like.
I didn't make that jingle.
Oh, pay royalties.
I haven't yet. But I do pay royalties from other YouTube music.
Yeah.
This was just built into the board.
Oh well. Maybe they won't find out.
I hope not. So, Pete, thank you so much for coming in.
No what?
I didn't have to work very hard to convince you.
No, like I said before, I just like the sound of my own voice, so come on in and see what it's about. Amazing.
Right, Pete, when did you pass your driving test?
I passed my driving test in 2000. So my wife had just had a baby, or we had just had a baby. And up to that point, I was rolling about on my motorbike.
Right.
And apparently, you can't take kids on motorbikes. So the plan was sell the motorbike to pay for driving lessons. And my mum donated us a car. She had just changed her car. She gave us her old one. And so I was 24 years old. But like I said, I'd been riding a bike for ages. I had like 18 hours of lessons.
Right.
And did that over in Joppa, Portobello way.
Mm-hmm.
And passed first time.
Passed first time.
Yeah.
How many minors? Be honest.
I don't remember, to be honest. I remember that I got more minors the second time I passed my driving test.
For your idea?
No, the second time I passed my driving test. I fell foul of the new Driver Act.
Ah.
Yeah. So I had to resit my driving test, passed it again, and got less faults.
So what happened? 6
points.
Mm-hmm.
6
the
points.
first 2 years.
So basically, I had lent my car to someone who had told me that they were insured to drive other people's vehicles.
Uh-huh.
They got stopped for speeding. And back in them days, you had to go and produce your documents at the police station. So he went and produced his documents. Turned out he wasn't insured to drive my car. I got a phone call, can you come into the police station to speak to me about it? So I went in, and basically I was given the option of, did he steal the car, take it out, or did I lend him with that proper valid insurance being in place? And I got done with aiding and abetting, driving without insurance. Aiding and abetting. 6 points on your license.
You absolute criminal.
It went to court. It has to go to court because it's a serious crime. So him and I both got 6 points, no fines. The judge recognised that it was an honest mistake. I reckon the copper was probably just trying to make his numbers up that week.
Targets.
Yeah, because I didn't need to be I didn't need to get that. He would have been fine just getting the other fella. But so then was off the road for like 11 days. You have to send your license back so they can endorse it, and until the point it comes back to you, you can still drive. So as soon as it came back, cancellation on a theory test, cancellation on a driving test, 11 days off the road.
So how long had you been passed for before you lost it?
About 13 months.
Right.
Yeah, so I was going backwards and forwards to work from Rosyth to Leith every day. So plenty of driving experience. I just was like, fine.
And you didn't need any other training?
No,
went
just
for it.
jumped straight back in and did it. Yeah.
Did not know that.
Yeah, I know, right? It's a tough one. Then when I wanted to be a driving instructor,
Oh, did you have to put a wee letter
I
in?
had to put a letter in because they were like, nah, you've got 6 points. And I was like, well, this is what happened. This is what went down. And they were like, well, you can't get any more points.
Yeah.
Well, I don't intend to.
Yeah, I had 3 points when I applied. When did you apply to be an instructor?
It's 2005.
2005. It was 2009, I think. I had went down a one-way street the wrong way. Proper accidental. Didn't see the sign, following the sat-nav. It was, it was like 3 years or something before. I think it was close to the being away for the dropping off, but they were still on.
Right.
So I had to write a letter to say, I won't do it again. I won't teach my guys to do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, tough one, eh?
It is.
But you got in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so right, here's my next question then. First car?
So it was my mum's, it was a hand-me-down from my mum. So it was a Ford Fiesta, grey. I think it was from 1986 or something. So it was like 14 years old at the time. My mum and dad used to live up in the Highlands. And so my mum is a chef, or was a chef. She used to go backwards and forwards to work down these dark country roads. So the bonnet had a few big dents from deers and things that she'd hit. But I loved that car. 1 litre. Used to have to push it up the hill if you were going up Drumbray or something like that, you know. No power, no guts. But it was brilliant. A great first car.
No power steering.
No.
No central
1986, I'm telling you, man, there was nothing. No central locking, no power steering. I think it had a cassette deck, which was brilliant. Play your tunes on that. It was freedom. That's what it was. The wife, the kid in the back. Off you go.
It's funny. My first car was like a Fiesta. I said it was a Fiesta, then I said it was an Astra. There was 2 cars. It was one of the 2. But it was a really cheap car to buy. I had, none of the things that we have now. But the feelings that you have, and
nostalgia.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cars nowadays, they're fancy and they do everything, but do you feel the same way about them?
Nah, I used to name all my cars. I've not named my fast few cars.
Try not to get too attached to them, do you think?
I just think no personality. Not like the old ones, My first car was called Felicia. Felicia the Fiesta.
Nice.
Named after Holly Valance off of Neighbours. That was her character in Neighbours. Holly Valance and Neighbours, Felicia. Yeah.
Nice. And so what happened to that car in the end?
It ended up just getting scrapped. So I did some practice in it with my brother. He was old enough and passed long enough that he could take me out. I did some practicing. We were going up Abbey Hill one day and pulled on the handbrake, snap, and the handbrake cable went. And I said, you're going to have to take over. I don't know how to do hill starts and that without a handbrake. And he was like, well, now you're going to learn. So after that, like other things started going wrong with it and this and that. Ended up scraping a bit of money together, went up to the auctions at the airport. Bought myself a Ford Escort. Beautiful. 1.4 litre Ford Escort. And then that was it. The Fiesta had to go.
We upgrade.
So, yeah, it was a big upgrade. It was
that have some toys?
Not really, no. It's still no power steering. So that one was a 1994 Escort. So it was still sort of 6-7 years old at the time that I bought it. But with Fiesta, I took it to a Scrappies, and I remember them putting it on the weighbridge, and it was like 750 kilos or something like that. And it was like a tenner a ton or something, so that's £7.50. Minus some money for each of the tyres. And I remember them, I'd left the spare tyre in the boot, so it's 5 tyres to take off. And they were like, here's a cheque for 20 pence. I was like, thanks. You can keep it. And they're like, no, we have to for our books. We have to give you this cheque for 20 pence. Never cashed it.
I was going to say, did you cash it?
Never cashed it. But the Escort, it was lovely. It was the old Escorts used to sit right down on the floor. Proper beautiful car. Loved that thing to bits.
Really feel driving and feel the road.
Absolutely. No power steering, no power windows. Had a CD player though.
Well, that's an upgrade for the cassette deck.
It is, yeah. So blasting the CDs.
I had an upgrade to a Cavalier.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
J-Reg, which was, I don't know, 91 or something.
Yeah.
And it had power steering and electric windows and central locking, and it was just a sturdy car.
Yeah, the Cavaliers were nice.
I was 17, I think. So going from this wee tinny Fiesta to this what felt like a big solid family.
Yeah.
And it had a wee bit of power compared to the Fiesta. I love that car.
Yeah. You can't beat it, can you? Your first few cars. It's just like it's freedom.
But honestly, it feels like every car you buy is a better car than your last one. But when I think about the order of the cars I bought, the joy that they brought me was less and less.
Right, okay.
Like, I don't know if you just take it for granted that these cars do everything now.
Yeah.
And
well, yours does.
That one, yeah, it does. Literally does. It's not far away if you just get in and saying, drive me over there.
I watched someone reverse a Kia, electric Kia, from outside the car today.
Right.
That was a bit weird to watch. It was just
with their phone or the Kia or something.
Phone, yeah.
Were they just
reversing into a parking space?
Ah, right, and it takes space or something.
Yeah. They just got out of the car and let the car do it itself. I was like, I didn't think that was allowed.
I guess it is.
We'll see.
Well, the parking on the I think it's Tesla's. You can just get out at the front door at Tesco and say, go and park yourself. And it just goes round and finds a bay.
That's crazy.
And then when you're at the till, you get your phone out and say, come get me, I'm at the front door. But I don't know, like...
I don't think that's allowed.
I don't know if it's allowed yet.
It's not allowed yet. People will be using the toys that they're given, if it's fitted.
But that one with I think the Kona and the EV, the Nero does that. You can just hold the button in and just... Like, I was thinking of getting in and out of a big puddle or something. Just,
Yeah.
Not a good idea.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it. It was an old couple just standing behind the car.
Check them out, eh?
Nobody in that driving seat. What's going on?
And
it's going beep, 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 beep.
That's fantastic, eh? Yeah. Those are the two cars that are mine up next.
Is it? The Kona and
the Nero and the Kona, because they are efficient when it comes to being, battery.
Yeah.
Full battery power. You get more miles per kilowatt. Well, you're hybrid.
Self-charging hybrid. Yeah. So petrol motor to recharge the batteries. So when you're doing your manoeuvres and that, it's all on electric.
Yeah.
But when you're out on the open road, it's on petrol. Or if you release your foot off the gas, it'll go into electric mode at 70 mile an hour, which is brilliant. So.
And then you get a bit of regen.
A wee bit regen, yeah. And it's got when you're accelerating, if it wants you to accelerate fast, it'll add both motors together at the same time to get you a bit extra power. Which is pretty good.
Yeah, I had two hybrids. I liked them. The wife's got one now. She's got the 15 or 16 plate. But I guess they're getting better.
Yeah, that new one, the new Yaris, it's brilliant. It's really good.
And you'll have that for a while.
That's due to be going in December. That's me had it for a year and a half now.
Oh. Did you do leasing?
Yeah. On this one I have done, because I was switching between the two cars. So I was already paying for the other car. Didn't want to have to pay for two cars at the same time. So
how's it been leasing? Has it been all right?
It's been all right. I went with not one of the big companies, but a smaller company. So yeah, it's all right. Fully maintained contract. Insurance. They don't cover punctures, which I know a lot of the leasing places do. Insurance is all right, actually. Yeah, my insurance was due in November. It was fine. It was about the same as it was before.
So they don't do punctures, everything else.
Everything else. So
service and what are you going to do next?
I think I'll just probably get another Yaris. I love them. I think they're brilliant. You get up in the morning, it's there. It'll go to work. It'll do its job.
How far away are you from full EV?
So I haven't put the research in yet. I don't know how. Like you hear anecdotally. You can only do maybe up to 6 hours a day of lessons. At the moment, some days I'm doing a bit more than that. Not much more than that, but a bit more than that. Plus, I work just that little bit further away. I go across the bridge to work in Queensferry.
If I said you could have a car that done 300 miles on a full charge, would that be enough in a day?
It would probably be enough in a day, absolutely. Yeah, but it's like, would going on the motorway... Would you still get your 300 miles? Because that's, I'm like I say, I work in Queensferry, so I'm going across that bridge 4 or 5 times a day. 70 mile an hour most of the time.
My Leaf has got the bigger battery. I wouldn't do that. No. 220 miles maybe in a good day. Yeah. I'm going to say like 170 on a bad day. But there's people I see on Facebook, some of the instructors down south have got this Nero and the Kona, and they just seem to be more... They must do something differently with the battery chemistry to get that 300 miles, even on, like you said, fast roads, lights on, heaters on. So I think that would be... Or Tesla, if you can afford the insurance.
Well, there you go, you see.
Which is just...
So I'll probably stick with self-charging for just now. Plus, the other thing is my garage is like miles from the house. Not miles from the house. It's not a mansion. It's at the bottom of the garden. Okay. Right. And it's not got any power in it at the moment. So I'd need to hook all that up and stuff. It's going to cost a bit to get an electric charging point in at the house. So.
They got lucky and got one installed, but that was when the incentive was on. I think they've withdrawn that.
I heard like Mini last year, if you were buying an approved used Mini, they were going to fit one for you, but I think that would be for like a standard house, not for one where they're going to need to lay a armoured cable
all the way down.
All the way down. my mansion, my lawn, past the orchard, you know.
It would do it, boy.
Yeah, you would just sink it in the ground, you know. Some of the neighbours have done it, but it's just not been done in my house yet, and it's not an expense that I'm looking at the moment.
A business expense, though.
Yeah, well, it would be if I went electric car, but like I say, I'd have to do the research.
You can't rush into these things.
You can't.
Let the other people rush in.
Exactly.
Let them make their mistakes along the way.
Exactly. That's why I've only just gone auto. Like, you guys do that first. See how you got on.
It's been a while for me. Mm-hmm. You preferring teaching in auto?
I like it. It's different.
You don't miss the stalls or the bunny hop.
Yeah, that's all gone. That's good. No, that ain't like that side of it's brilliant. It's just different, isn't it? You know, I'm not dealing with a dozen 17-year-olds anymore. I'm dealing with other people.
People with a bit of life experience.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. More life experience, different reasons for going auto.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I find it's sort of people that could do manual but just don't want to.
Get quite a lot of that, yeah.
People that have tried it and struggled, and what was their next?
The next step.
Yeah.
I've had a few that have just made the decision at 17, like, I'm going to learn auto because what's the point in learning manual? And I think that'll happen more.
There's a lot of these, I don't know if it's the parents that are into the whole EV thing, because all the EVs are automatic.
Yeah.
And I've had a few of the kids that have, I'm not going to say brainwashed, because I think I agree with them.
Yeah.
I think the same. I just think manuals, I don't want to say a thing in the past, because we still get more manual inquiries than autos, but it's on its way out.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it was like a month, 2 months after I got my car that Rishi Sunak went from 2030 to 2035 for, you know, getting rid of fossil fuel cars.
Yeah.
So it's like, because 2030, well, that's only 6 years away.
Yeah, it was always going to be quite tight for. I just don't see any improvements in the public.
Yeah, the infrastructure. Yeah.
It's worse than it probably was before. So, my theory is this: if you have a house where you can charge from your garden, your house is going to be worth a hell of a lot more than a house where you don't have. If you have to rely on a public charging network, I would not love to have an electric car.
No.
You know, it's not just the fact that you have to turn up, maybe somebody's on it, you've got to wait, maybe it's broken. All of them were like scheduled for maintenance.
Yeah. Yeah, I was in a car park yesterday and they've taken the chargers out of that car park. And I was like, where have they gone?
It's a shame. It's, to me, it's like, I don't know what the problem is. It's money. But then the government, they've stopped their incentives. When I got my first EV, it was $5,000, I think, off the car.
Yeah.
And then when I upgraded to that one, it was maybe 4 or 3. No, I don't think you're getting.
You're not getting discounts because people are buying them now.
Mm-hmm.
They were just,
Yeah, maybe that's what's, yeah.
My dentist, I was just at the dentist and she was saying that she's just got an electric car and a Kia. She loves it. She's a convert. She's had it a week. Yep. The Audi TT is just sitting on the drive, not doing nothing. She's out in her Kia, loving it.
They're lovely to drive. They are. I don't know. I drove a manual car. I can't remember when it was, and I just thought,
what's the point?
What I think's funny is when you'll have had this with teaching automatic, is people who you're teaching, their friends will be giving them a hard time.
Yeah. You're not learning in a real car.
Yeah, this is not proper driving.
It's an actual car, guys. Listen, it gets you to Sainsbury's, it gets you to wherever, you know?
Mm-hmm. I like saying to them to go and ask their friends if their car has like fancy features like automatic wipers.
Yeah.
Oh, it does. Oh, that's not proper driving.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not manually putting the wipers on.
Exactly. You're cranking it in the morning.
But I don't know where that comes from.
It's from the parents. It's definitely going to be from the parents. Like they're just, it's so ingrained. That's why 17-year-olds are not jumping on the automatic at the moment. It's because their parents are like, no, you must learn manual. Well, soon there's not going to be manual cars to learn in. So
I just never, I don't know. When I think back to the first time I ever drove an automatic car, I remember saying to the guy in the garage, how does it work? On a hill?
Yeah.
Like, I was so confused. I was like, what, it just stays still when you come off the... I couldn't compute. I had to actually try it, and I was like, oh, yeah. It's a bit weird, but I could get used to that.
My older daughter, she moved to Leith last year, and I was doing lifting and shifting, moving her in, and I was in the manual car that I had at the time. It was horrible because I just got used to the auto, and you're sitting in stop-start traffic, and you're going, why do people put themselves through this? There's an easier way.
Aye.
There's a simpler way, guys. Just get yourself an auto.
Well, you take it a step further, and if you're in, say, busy, slow-moving traffic, with that one, you can just say, I can't remember what it's called, ProPilot or something, and it follows the car in front, and it stops and it starts, and it keeps its right distance.
Yeah.
And it steers. So you sit back.
You go through the back and have a nap.
It's not there yet, because every so often it comes up on the screen saying, hold on, touch the wheel.
You're letting go of the steering wheel.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
But
a rebel.
So apparently, right, if you leave it long enough, and you just ignore the warnings, that it brings the hazards on, because I assume something's happened, and you either pulls you in or it stops or something. So there's a safety thing built in, but I might cut this bit out. You can you can put something on the wheel.
Right, got you like a rubber hand or something.
Just something like a wee weight.
Yeah. And tricks it.
Yeah, and you don't get the warning.
Yeah.
Might cut that out.
Probably should. Mine's got adaptive cruise control. It'll do the same thing.
Aye.
It's really good.
It's great. It's just one, and then you think back to when you had 3 pedals and you didn't have the cruise and you had to clutch up, clutch down, and you've got your work shoes on, and it's no comfy.
It's not sitting in traffic in a manual car. It's not comfy.
But that's the next stage. Is like you said, just set it and get in the back.
Exactly.
Wake me up and we're there. Do you think in our lifetimes we'll have that?
Do you know what I was going to ask you? What are you going to do after our jobs become redundant?
Well, here's the thing, right? My brother, shout out to Craig. He likes when I give him a wee shout out. We disagree on a lot of things, but he told me that I'll be out of a job one day when cars become self-driving. I said I disagree. How long did it take the DVSA or the powers that be? How long did it take them to make a simple change, such as, okay, right, we're not doing turning the road anymore? That to me was quite a small change, right?
Yeah.
Let's just take that out, take the reverse corner out, and we'll add in this. That would have been years and years of planning.
Yeah,
and
red tape and getting through it all. Absolutely.
For a small change.
But they've authorised Ford to try their self-driving down in Birmingham.
Who?
The government.
For
trying it out to see the autopilot, on the road.
Right.
So it'll be under test, and it'll be under like proper conditions. It'll be Ford themselves that are doing it, not just handing it to punters. But Ford's autopilot system has been the one that's been given the green light down there to try out.
I wonder why Ford got chosen.
Money. There'll be money. I don't know why Ford got chosen.
I believe.
Who's running the system on the autonomous bus that we've got here?
I don't know.
It never works.
No,
but it's running.
Is it true that they have to have more drivers?
Yeah, you have to have a driver and a conductor.
Right.
Yeah, as opposed to just a driver. So yeah.
And it's not an electric bus. I thought it would have been.
I don't know. I've not noticed. I thought it would have been.
The big one that says autonomous bus.
Yeah, the autonomous bus that's got autonomous bus written on the side of it. Yeah, that's the one.
I'm pretty sure that was not electric when I was behind it once. Might be wrong.
I don't know. There's 2 or 3 of them going about.
But they're
all doing the same route.
But they've never been driverless.
No, and they're not going to be. But they're just testing out the system to see if it works. But then there was an incident that happened, and then they were going to stop the trials for 3 months, but keep the service running. So the bus is still going backwards and forwards, but it's not in any way, shape, or it's been driven, basically.
Mm-hmm.
There's never anyone on it either. It's always empty. See, because I work at Queensferry, I see it a lot because it comes across the old Forth Road Bridge.
Mm-hmm. See, my understanding is what Tesla do that no other company does is they tell people use self-driving, and if you have to step in and stop it from doing something wrong, the cameras will be recording that, all the data is recorded and sent back to our big, massive neural net of training software. So every time a human corrects a machine, it gets sent back into the training computer and then sent back to everyone else as an update.
That's crazy.
Billions and billions of miles of training that they're getting essentially for free that no other companies do. They're miles ahead of any other company on full self-driving.
Yeah.
My brother, this is something that he says to me, no, I don't think so. And I says, I think so. Way ahead. So this is where I was surprised at Ford.
There'll be something there. It'll be money, or it'll be something.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be something to do with it. Yeah.
Any accidents in your driving history?
In my driving history, or when I've been teaching?
Oh, both.
So, not in my own personal driving history, but teaching-wise, the only accidents we've ever had have been small bumps.
Right.
And they've always been other drivers' fault.
At the back.
Either at the back, or actually, I had one where I was turning left at a crossroads, traffic light control crossroads, and the person opposite, turning right, went across right in front of us, then saw the red light that wasn't for them, whacked it in reverse, reversed straight into the front of me. And I was like on the horn, and my student was like, what are you doing? I'm like, this person's going to reverse into us, sure enough. Crack, hits us. So we pulled in at the next car park and had a look. There was no damage to my car, but her car had a lens cracked at the back there. But it was like, what are you doing? I had most recent one. I was in the yellow car, right? My yellow car was pretty damn visible.
That stands
right?
out.
Turned left at a mini roundabout into like a housing estate. And at the corner of my eye, I can see a car that's parked facing the wrong way, moving across the road. And I'm like, again, on the horn. I was like, on the brakes and the horn at the same time. But he still just came across and he hit us. And I was teaching my niece at the time. So I was like, right, we'll just draw forwards and we'll pull in and get out of the car. And she got out of the car with me. And I just looked at the guy and I said, see when you checked your blind spot before we moved off? Did you see a yellow car? And he went, I didn't check my blind spot. My niece thought it was hilarious. But instead of just tearing into him, I was like, where's your blind spot check, man?
Yeah, you spend all day trying to jump into people, eh? And this is why.
That's it. That's exactly why. He was like, I've moved away from there so many times and never had a problem. I was like, well, today you've had a problem and you've hit a bright yellow car.
I had that.
The safest of all colours.
I know. I had an incident in 2017 coming out for the Petrivia stay up at the King Malcolm. And I remember my learner was going straight on second exit. Now, this is when you did use the left lane. It's changed now.
Yeah, it has changed.
You use the left lane, straight on second exit. She entered the roundabout safe enough. And after she was on it and not even past the first exit, somebody flying from the dual carriageway overtook us, but clipped us.
Oh, right.
And then away up. Didn't stop. So we stopped and we got the camera and the number plate and phoned and reported it. And the police came out to the house and I showed them the footage and it was clear as day. And they went, right, can we have this footage and we'll go and speak to the guy. And the guy ended up saying to the policewoman, this is quite ironic now that it has changed, because the guy said, why were they going straight on in the left-hand lane? And at the time he did. So the policewoman said, I guess you needed more lessons. And so anyway, it was all settled. He paid. But I just think now he's about to come up that way and go, I was right. Because it's changed.
Because it's changed. You know what used to happen there all the time is you'd be going straight ahead in that left-hand lane and people would just use the right-hand lane to turn left into the right-hand lane going up towards town.
On the right-hand lane?
Yeah, they would just come round in front of you.
Yeah.
All the time that happened. I reckon that's why it got changed.
Maybe, yeah. Stop people doing that.
Stop people doing that because they were doing it regular. Really regular.
The dash cam's worth every penny.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've just went and bought one of the £20 ones out of Aldi. It's probably not going to be any good, but it's a start.
It might be something.
Yeah.
We had an incident today coming onto the A92. My learner was coming down for Cowdenbeath. Not a bad bit of speed builds, and we both were watching a right mirror because there was some coming up beside us, and all of a sudden we both jumped onto the foot brake at the same time because something was going off in front of us. They were all braking.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, oh, wow, that was close. A lorry was on the slip road and couldn't get on
Right.
because there was a camper van thing. And then, I might overlay the footage on top of this, but you got to be on your...
Got to be on your toes, man,
Oh,
all
man.
the time.
It went from being absolutely fine to holy in 1 second. So it was a mock test, and I just says, well, do you know what? Your reactions were as quick as mine.
Absolutely.
That's
That's
not
what I
a
always
fail.
say to them. If you're on the brakes at the same time as me, I'm giving you it.
Yeah, I'm not failing you for that.
Yeah.
But I was quite scared of that one. Like. Favourite place that you've driven?
Favourite place that I've driven? I don't know. Do you mean like in the UK?
No.
No.
Anywhere.
I'm a big fan of road trips.
Oh, yeah.
Massive fan of road trips. So we've been to America a couple of times, done some decent road trips across there.
You feel quite comfortable driving on the wrong side of the road?
Yes. Yeah, America's all right because the signs are in English.
Roads are wider.
Roads are wider. Cars, they give you automatic.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about any of that. You just, no, absolutely fine. Loved it. So we've done, so my wife's got family over in Indiana. So we normally, we've been twice. So start off there and then do a road trip from there. So the first time we went down through Kentucky to Tennessee, Nashville, went to Dollywood. Oh, Dollywood's amazing.
Dollywood.
Forget Disney. Go to Dollywood.
Right.
It's incredible. Anyway, so down to Nashville, then back up through Kentucky to Indiana. Second time, started off in Chicago, down to Indiana, up through Michigan, Ohio, into Canada.
And what is this old sat nav, or is it pretty much signs?
Google
straight
Maps.
roads?
So you download your maps on Google Maps. So that first time we went was 2011. I can't remember what phone I had, but you were still able to get Google Maps on it. So we were doing that. We were we were trying to find things to do off the side of the road, and there was the tri-county line between Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio, and I couldn't get that on my Google Maps. It wouldn't come up. So we'd gone on the internet, and I said to my wife, write down the directions, where we come off, where we go. So we got like up to where it was, and I was like, when are we coming off? And she was like, oh, it's like exit 95, whatever. So I was like, right, fine, good. So we've come off at 95, and then I goes, what's next? She goes, left. I was like, okay, at the end of the road, this next left, where are we turning left? She's like, I've just written left, right, country road. I was like, brilliant. So we eventually found it after going left, right, country road. Stopped, and there's a little like thing to show you where the tri-state line is and stuff. Had a wee muck around on that, took some photos of that.
Oh,
Back in the car.
Yes, right. I think I've seen pictures of that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's brilliant. And then, going across the border from America into Canada, and the Canadian Border Force, so friendly. Have a great day. It's your first time in Canada, blah, 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 just blethering away. You go up into Canada. We went up to Niagara Falls, came back in, coming back across the border in America. It's like you're a criminal. It's like, have you got any flora and fauna with you? Got any guns, anything like that? And I've got 3 little kids in the back. And that was good fun. I remember he was like, Heather, my middle daughter, she was like, he goes, you got any flora or fauna? And she was like, what's that? Like to my wife. And Bex was like, nuts and seeds and that. She goes, we've got some cashews. It's like, shush, you're going to get us arrested. So yeah, that was good fun. We had that was the second time we were over. We had they gave us a Toyota Serena 3-litre V6 people carrier. Amazing. Let me have one of them here. Why do we not have them here? That was so good.
Yeah.
Great car. Leather interior. Fantastic. Just sit there and cruise and off you go.
Aye.
They've got, in some of the states, they've got like turning right on a red light, but not on all of them.
Now, I've spoken to people about this before, and that must be strange doing that.
It's all right once you know it. I'm the type of person I will look up the rules of everywhere that I'm going to be, because there are some states and some counties where the rules are different. So you have to know what you're doing before you go, because the police over there are not a joke. They've got guns.
Yeah,
I'm not messing with them. And there's some counties where you're not even allowed to have alcohol in the car, not in the boot, nowhere. The dry counties, like in Tennessee and Kentucky and stuff. So my wife's Scottish, properly Scottish. you can't go anywhere without like a 6-pack in the boot or something. Anyway, yeah, so that was good fun. You know, learning all the rules, learning where you could do things, where you couldn't do things. They've got this one as well where our equivalent would be when you're turning right at a crossroads, you have to go into the right-hand lane. So that people coming the other way can turn left into the left-hand lane. So like just at an intersection, a 4-way intersection, if you're turning, like for us, it would be if we're turning right, you have to turn into the right-hand lane.
Oh, right. That's strange because we say go over to the left.
Go over to the left, go into the driving lane. But they go, no, right to right, or in their case, it's left to left, but for us, it'd be right to right.
That explains why an awful lot of people that I've had come over for the States do lessons love that right-hand lane.
Yeah.
And I'm like, try not to use that lane. Or if you are in it, get out of it.
Yeah, no, the roads, like you said, they're wide enough that they can support it. They've got overhead traffic lights as well. Instead of having them at the sides of the road, they're overhead. So I remember the first time we went over, and we were in a Chevrolet Impala, a really nice car as well. They have great cars over there. Anyway, this Chevrolet Impala, and we were driving down this main street in like a little town, and all I could hear from the back was my son. He's going, "Red light, Dad." I was like, "Thanks, son." I totally was looking here and not up there. So,
I think you've got to be awfully confident to take that on. I've mentioned, I think, on every podcast I've done now about the curfew driving, and I didn't like it.
No, you're right. It takes a bit of getting used to, and you have to be confident. I've driven in France. I've driven in Spain. More difficult there, especially when they give you a manual car and you're changing gear with the wrong hand, and what have you.
That's what they said. They said, if you want to go up a hill, turn your aircon off.
Yeah.
Just get extra power. And there's a hilly place.
Yeah. Yeah, I've driven all over. I've driven through Paris.
There's some funny rules there about you've got to have a spare bulbs.
Yeah, and a breathalyzer with you.
You have to have that.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff like that, yeah. And one of the rules that they've got in town is that if somebody wants to come out the side road, you have to stop and let them out the side road.
They have priority.
They have priority coming out of the side road, but only in town. You go out into the countryside, doesn't apply anymore. It's confusing. It's pretty confusing, but again, once you get used to it, same with the roundabouts and that. You know, you come up to your first roundabout and you're busy looking right, and you're like, "Oh wait, actually,
you've got to flip it.
You have to
every time." Aye. No, I made that decision. I says I'm going to get a bus every time now from like the airport to, and I'm going to sit back and I'm going to just listen to a podcast or something.
I love it. I love just challenging myself. So we're going to Sweden next month, and we're doing a road trip from Stockholm up to the Arctic Circle.
And you're going to do the driving?
Me and the missus, we're going to split the driving.
And so how do you research this? Where do you start rules-wise?
Internet, Google it.
Yeah.
The rules in Sweden, as far as I can tell, are pretty much the same as they are here.
It's funny. One of the things that I want to do in this podcast is speak to people from different countries who are in this industry, whether it's examiners or even instructors, or even people that have maybe just done tests here. Because I love people in the car, and you ask them like, "What's the test like in Nigeria?" They just go, "Test."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. One of my students recently said, "You guys don't take it as a joke here. You're taking it serious." Yeah, we're taking it serious here.
Well, I met somebody for the first time the other day, and she says, "I'm just looking for a bit of a mock test to see, how far away from test. I feel like I'm kind of ready." I says, "You had lessons before?" "I've had 7 hours before." I says, "Okay." I says, "Well, until I see you drive in, I can only tell you that the average here is a bit more than that."
Yeah.
She was like, 10. And I'm like, 20. And I'm like, so we played this game till we got up to the sort of 50, 60.
We are, yeah.
And she was just, "What?" But, however, I was quite surprised when I seen her driving. Turns out she's got an international license and, can drive great.
Yeah.
Just a bit of converting to here. That's what she was talking. She goes, "I'll come on your podcast. I'll tell you about the rules."
Brilliant, yeah.
I says, "I'd like to hear."
Because it's different all over the world. I was teaching a young lady recently, and she openly admitted that her family were fairly wealthy and that they had just bought a driving license. So when she got in the car for the first time with me, she'll not mind me saying this if she watches it, but she got in the car and every single time she saw anybody anywhere, she wanted to beep to let them know that she was there. Honestly, it was like
Is that a thing?
reversing out of driveway, beep, beep.
Right.
Somebody walking on the path, beep, beep. Let them know I'm there.
Well, that's what the highway code says, I suppose, doesn't it? Alert others of your presence.
Honestly, I think my horn would have been worn out if I'd let her continue with what she was wanting to do. It was just the hand was so quick, always to the horn.
Like, you've been to New York.
I've not been to New York.
It's in Manhattan, in Times Square, in the taxis and stuff. It is exactly like you see. It's horns, and we were in a car for about maybe say 20 minutes, half an hour, and this taxi probably bumped into about maybe 10 different cars during the one ride we were in. Just little nudges, and every time we would nudge them, a wee toot, as if to say sorry.
Yeah.
Or somebody bump him sorry.
It's like Chicago's the same. Like, so we were in Chicago, and yeah, we were on one of these open top buses, and you know the person that was doing the commentary, she was like, "Yeah, that's the sound of our people. It's the sound of our city. Just car horns."
It wasn't even like aggressive.
No,
it was
it's
just
just
an
like,
acknowledgement of hit you. You know,
what we're gonna do? It's fine. We're
Yeah.
not stopping. We don't need to. It's too busy to stop.
it's exactly like what you see in the movies. Very bizarre.
Paris, every car, no matter how old or new, has got a dent in the side from where it's hit a scooter. Every single car, brand new car, dent.
See, I don't know. I don't love these things. Driving abroad, it makes you feel here, like. Although I've got my sort of gripes with certain things with the test and these triggers and all this carry on, you feel a bit safer knowing that we've got rules here.
Yeah.
You know, people have to do well to pass.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know. Speaking of triggers, how do you feel about that?
So
I think most people know what we're on about.
yeah, absolutely. So I think before, when I was in the manual, you can kind of control it a bit more. Does that make sense? Now I've switched to auto. I feel like if someone's going to have a really rubbish test, I can't stop that from happening. If they're driving well with me for weeks and weeks beforehand, but they have maybe like a condition or something that's going to be triggered by the environment.
Yeah.
I've had my first ever walk back. So I've been doing this 19 years. I had my first ever walk back about a month ago.
Wow.
And it was literally that. It was somebody just could not cope with the stress of the test on the day.
I mean, one walk back in 19 years is pretty good.
I mean, do you know what? I was delighted with that. And I couldn't believe it. I saw the examiner walking back to the test centre, and I got a bollocken. Can I say bollocken?
Of course. I think we get 12 swear words per episode.
So I got telling off. What are you doing bringing this person? They're nowhere near test ready. And I was like, well, they don't drive like that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be bringing them to test.
Mm-hmm.
This particular person had been involved in an accident as a toddler, as a child, and something had happened on the day. He couldn't follow any signs, couldn't follow any direction, and that was it. It just melted.
Oh, that's tough, eh? Because what can you do for them?
I mean, like I say, he's driving with me, put a sat nav down in front of him. He was used to the way that I gave directions, used to the way that I would do things, and his driving was okay. You know, I wouldn't take him if I didn't think he was capable of passing. But no, I got torn a new one.
How do you fix it?
How do you fix it? Practice.
Mm. I mean,
Practice.
is 100 hours more going to make a difference on the next test?
So I think probably mock tests with other instructors, getting used to a different environment, ask people to behave maybe a little more strict.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. It's I'm going to work on it. We'll see. We'll see what happens. All you can do is keep trying.
I don't know if you've heard the two walk back stories I had on the previous one.
Yeah.
It was
With
a
the
while
guy
ago.
from Egypt and
Yeah.
Chinese guys.
I guess. I mean, that was easily when I was new the first year, so
Yeah.
I've never had anything since. But although COVID was a different ball game when they were coming back early.
How quick was your quickest one?
I never had anyone fail in the car park, although I did hear stories of other people, they give wayline and stuff. Most of it was just quick fit. Something went wrong. Up to that roundabout and back. I think that's probably 10 minutes.
My first one in COVID, I turned up at the test centre. I hadn't obviously seen anyone for such a long time. And Ross was there. And he goes, do you want to go for a walk? I was like, yeah, of course. Let's do that. Let's go for a walk. 20 minutes later, turned back up. My car's sitting there. And I walked over to my car. Like, I could see, like, the examiner was, like, standing chatting to one of the other instructors that was there. And the examiner's looking at me as if to say, where have you been? So I went over to my car, and she was like, turned right down to the mini roundabout, gave way to the left, got instructed to go all the way around the mini roundabout, come back up. She'd been sitting there for like 12, 13 minutes crying her eyes out.
Oh, shame.
While I'm off strolling, having a blether with Ross. Unbelievable.
That was a joke, that, wasn't it? Oh, let's restrict the amount of time that we are in the car with you, but we'll just charge you the same price, you know.
Yeah. I don't know. A lot of the people that you speak to now, when they say, "Well, if I fail,"
they all love it.
They want to go back.
Yeah.
They're like, "Well, what's the point in carrying on?" And well, the point is, you paid for it.
You've paid for
start.
it, and you want to know that was your only mistake.
Yeah. But what can so often happen, especially, what can so often happen is like they'll make one mistake, they'll know they've made it because the examiner's taken action or whatever, and then that'll just result in another 4 or 5 serious faults while they think about the first one that they did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's human. We're human. We spiral sometimes. Some people spiral more than others.
Don't you find? And I don't know if this is different with automatic or if it's getting worse over time. But don't you feel that you spend a lot of time inside someone's head?
Yeah.
You know, like you're trying to prepare them mentally for this test. And I'd say, you've got to be ready physically. You've got to know how to control the car, but you've also got to be ready for, I don't know, an examiner that's going to be like, "Are you happy with that?" You know,
Yeah.
outcome, and you might look at the camera and say it's perfect, and they're like, "Are you happy with that?" That's enough to make somebody crumble,
Yeah.
even though they're perfectly parked or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? You're right. Over the years, it has become more about that kind of thing. More about, I think in the automatic as well, it has become more like. So for years, I never did mock tests. I didn't see the benefit to them. It was a waste of someone's time when we could be doing something else. And I'm talking about years ago now. And then, I don't know, I just started doing them. And I was like, actually, they're quite a good tool. But I don't think they would have been as useful 19 years ago as they are now.
It seems harder now than it was before.
I think people are different now.
Yeah, I guess.
Roads are different now.
Yeah, and I would imagine examiners have got to be stricter year on year to try and keep accident rates down. They must.
Well, they'll be under pressure, yeah, absolutely.
And the cars are cars are doing more for people than before. That one in mine, you push the camera button, it shows you like a drone.
Yeah, the overhead shot.
Like, you can't go wrong with that. And they're allowed to make use of that. Going into the bay, and I try and say to them, look, use it, but don't stare at it, and don't try not to rely on it, because without it, you've got to be doing it on your own.
I remember my first car with a camera, and I took my first person to testing it, and at the end of the test, the examiner was like, look, you can't be looking at that camera. And I was like, yeah, they can. they can. And the examiner was like, no, you can't be looking at it. And I was like, yeah, they can. They're just not allowed to use it as their sole focus. You have to look around. So the examiner was like, right, I'll do some digging. I'll speak to you next time you're in. Next time I was in, the examiner was like, yeah.
Yeah. I just said to them, treat it like you would treat a mirror. You didn't stare in the mirror the whole time. It's an extra mirror, if you like, an extra source of information. It's like if your left blind spot's great, but if you stared there the whole time, you'd miss out the right blind spot. Yeah. So I just treat it as one of your
obs. Yeah. It even says at the bottom of the screen, like, check surroundings for safety.
I had this idea once of getting a giant post-it note and putting it over the top of the screen so that it would just flap down in front of it. And it's like, if you want to have a wee peek.
Like a peep show.
But just let it drop again.
Yeah.
That way you can't just stare at it the whole time.
Yeah.
I actually did buy post-its, but they didn't stick that well.
No. So. On my car, you used to be able to just press a button to turn the camera off, but on this one, you can't.
Aye, it's always on in reverse. Why? This is a bit random now, but why did you want to become an instructor? Where did that come from?
So, back in the day, when I passed my test when I was 24, and I was working for the man, in the St James Centre, And you'd go into work and it'd be dark. You'd come out of work and it'd be dark. And the kids were getting older and I wasn't seeing them.
Right.
And every day you'd pick up a copy of the Metro, or someone would, and it'd be in the staff room. And every day in the Metro there was an advert: earn £30,000, become a driving instructor, choose your own hours, be your own boss. That's a no-brainer. It was the instructor college. Did you go through the instructor college? No. So the instructor college was churning out driving instructors, absolutely churning them out. And you'd contact them and they'd say, right, well, we'll do a suitability check. Like, come in, we'll do a suitability check, see if you're the right material to be a driving instructor. And looking back on it, it's a sales pitch. They got you in to give you a sales pitch. Give us your, whatever it was, £2,500, £3,000 for the training.
Yep.
And at the end of it, you'll be a driving instructor. All right, well, I've got £2,500. Let's do this. Let's get it done. And you quickly realise that that's a load of nonsense. So
They spend a while doing part 1 training.
yeah, classroom part 1 training. And then the part 2 training was not bad, actually. The part 2 training, we did 2-on-1. So you got to sit in the back, and actually that you learnt some of your part 3 craft from sitting in the back watching somebody else drive.
Mm-hmm.
Passed my part 2, passed my part 1, passed my part 2, did my 40 hours. And the week that I was going to do my 40 hours, like about 3 weeks before I booked in, about 3 or 4 weeks beforehand, I went into work and I was like so confident that I was just going to be a driving instructor. I was like, here's my notice. I was like, here's my notice. Before I'd done my training, because I needed to get that week off to do my training, because it was 40 hours in a week.
Right.
Intensive. So I handed my notice in. Then I went home and I was like, right, Rebecca, I've handed my notice in. I'm going to stop work and then I'm going to do my 40 hours. Then I'm going to be a driving instructor. And she goes, we're pregnant.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, well, I better make sure this works then. So I did my 40 hours. I think I had a test 2 weeks afterwards, and I didn't pass it. It was PSTs. You did PSTs.
Yeah. Not many people would pass. That was like 11% pass rate or something back then.
Yeah. So I did my first test, did it up at Curry, and didn't pass it. The examiner was like, oh, you did this really well, you did this really well, but ultimately you didn't keep control of the car. Right? You need to be in control of the car at all times. And I was like, right, okay. Well, what does that mean? I didn't have a clue.
It was horrible when they were doing that role play.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. Then you had to do another 20 hours. So I went into the office and I was like, look, I've bet the house on this. What can I do? And he was like, well, sounds like you need to be a trainee. So he signed me up to be a trainee. Did that. Got some experience.
Makes a difference, eh?
Massive.
Aye.
Massive difference.
You find this instructor voice
Yeah.
as a trainee.
You have to, and you have to do it quick. When someone's trying to kill you, you have to take control of that car quick.
Aye.
So yeah, did that. Part 3, second attempt, did it out of Joppa. Passed that time. That was brilliant. I was doing junctions and turning the road. Brilliant.
What a feeling, eh?
Problem. Absolutely. 10 feet tall.
Aye.
So yeah, that was it. That's it. Then you realise quickly that you don't get to pick your own hours. And there's definitely not 30k on the table at the end of the day.
Well, going back to then, that would have been a sales pitch. Different nowadays. I mean, although the hourly wage would have been less than, eh?
£17 an hour.
Right.
£17 an hour I was charging. And the first lesson was always buy one, get one free.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
That you would lose out on.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Especially if they decided to only take that lesson.
Yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, yeah, so I ended up working massive hours, like, just to make ends meet. The franchise fee was huge. Your lesson price was low. Yeah, included the car.
That would have been a good couple of £100 a week or something.
250 a week.
250 a week.
250 a week. So you're working your first, 15 hours to pay the franchise without having to pay your everything else that you're paying for, your fuel and what have you. And then
that was a lot of money back then.
That was a massive amount for a franchise.
For £17 an hour.
Yeah.
Like, if you think what now, somewhere between £35 and £50 an hour. It's a big average there, but for the same franchise, that'd be a lot more manageable.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. It was crippling. It was absolutely crippling. But then you just fall into the same trap. You work when people are able to take lessons.
Mm-hmm.
I was working from 7 o'clock in the morning, having a big gap in the middle of the day when the kids were at school or at nursery or napping or whatever. And then going back out in the evening and working till 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night.
So, when did you decide to go on your own?
So pretty much as soon as I qualified. As soon as I qualified and I didn't need that company anymore, I was like, here's my notice. I'm going to sort out my own car. I actually set up in business with 3 other guys.
Oh, now, I think...
You've heard this.
Well, one of my questions I was wanting to ask you was, when did we first meet? And I kept thinking it was a night out or something.
Probably was. Or at the test centre. I think you were working with another driving school at the time
With
when we
Mike?
first met. Yeah.
2010, 11 maybe back then.
So yeah, I would have been on the scene already for 5 years or so by then. I'm sure we met at the test centre or something. I'm sure Mike was even there at the same day.
I remember you telling me the story about somebody do a website, right? No?
Yeah. So yeah, when we first started, it was me and 3 other guys, and we were all with Red, and we all decided we were going to jump ship at exactly the same time. So we decided to set up between the 4 of us, just a wee conglomerate or whatever. So the name was chosen, and it just happened to be similar to a name of a driving school that already existed locally.
Yep.
Similar, not the same.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think one word the same. And yeah, so I was in charge of like marketing. So set up the website. Like not a lot of driving schools had websites then. Didn't need them. Everyone was still phoning you.
Aye.
And so I set up the website, and we had an 0800 number on the side of the car that was just going to my house. Right? It was like just to make it look bigger than it was. So all of a sudden you've got 4 cars in one area, all liveried up. Nice livery, by the way. They were done well, and just burst onto the scene. This 0800 number on the side. We must have looked like a professional outfit, because I get a phone call off of another driving instructor local in the area who owns another school, and he's like, "You can't come into here and start using my business name. You can't come stealing my business name." I was like, "Well, all due respect, we haven't stolen your business name. We've got a name that's similar." But then there's at least one more driving school locally that has a similar name as well. Do you know what I mean? There's there's only so many permutations that you can use.
When
anyway.
you use pass and drive in school. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or Scotland or professional
Yes.
or anything like that. Anyway. So I get up to the end of the phone call, and he's like, "Well, all's fair." No, it was me. I said, "All's fair in love and war." And he goes, "Well, is that so? If anyone phones me looking for you, I'm stealing your customers." I was like, "Right, fine, do that. I'm just going to go and buy your domain name
Right.
for like £2.99 or something." And that's what I did. Bought his domain name. Didn't use it. Never redirected it to my own site or anything like that. Just left sitting there. And then a few years later, they set up their driving school,
With
their
a dash or
website
something.
with a dash,
Mhm.
with a dash in it, because their driving school name had been bought by some other local driving school. I was like, "I'm sorry. I am sorry. I'm sorry about that."
Yeah, I remember.
It was just one of them things. It was a reactionary thing. And like I say, I never did anything maliceful with it. But I remember being at the test centre one day and that driving school owner talking about it to his friend while I was sitting there. He knew it was me that had it.
Oh, right. Did you sit back? Or did you?
I didn't say anything. I sent him an email later on and said, "If you want it, you can have it. It's yours." And he was like, "Well, I've already got this other one now." I said, "Fine, whatever." Didn't let it auto-renew, just let it go.
I remember trying to come up with a name for mine, and you go through all the different, somebody's got it. Oh, somebody's got it. And I quite literally, there was something came through the door, like a leaflet, for your move.
Yeah.
Your move.
It could so easily have been Easy Drive.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like your move.
Easy Pass.
Your pass. Oh, your pass. Did they exist? Although actually the domain your pass without a dash belongs to someone who runs a pass company for like tickets for something.
Oh, okay.
Your
got
pass
you.
or something.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
about a dash. But
Ooh.
oh well. Stuff
It is
like
what it
that.
is.
Yeah.
It's done and dusted. Years and years have gone by now. So it's all good. And then the 4 of us party company.
And are they still going?
One of them is.
Right.
One of them is.
Still going with them?
We speak now. We didn't at the time. We do now. He's fine. We get on all right now.
Fair enough.
But yeah, he's still working locally. The other two, one of them retired, and I don't know what happened to the other one. We had a bit of a falling out about cars. Brand image, you know?
Yeah. Being on your own's a thing where you've just got nobody to answer to.
That's
you
right.
know, make your own calls and decisions.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll be forever happy on your own?
Yeah, so I've not got any desire to start franchising. That's just not... If I was going to do it, I think I would have done it a while ago. You know, business is good enough for me to work on my own. You know what I don't like? Is the bit that you have to do or you get Donna to do. I hate that bit. Answering the phone, responding to people. I literally hate it. Can't stand it.
It's a job in itself.
It is.
Especially if you get a lot of inquiries and it's hard to keep up with because you've done one lesson and then by the time you finish your phone's gone mad again. And I hate things on a phone that undone. I need to do them.
Right.
So when Donna done that side, I just uninstalled and
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
This isn't my thing anymore.
Yeah. See, that's the bit. If I was going to try and franchise, I just couldn't do that bit. I hate it.
You could hire someone.
I could ask Donna, poacher, maybe. Back in the day, you used to be able to, you probably still can, you used to be able to just pay a receptionist, like on the end of, just in a call centre somewhere, they would see that the number that had been called was for that business and they would answer it on as that business, but they would be answering calls for all kinds of people. But no, I'm not. You still have to do the work, getting it set up and stuff. Like getting the lesson booked in and stuff. So, no, I don't know. I'm happy enough doing what I'm doing.
Just realised that fan was on the whole time. So that was future plans.
Future plans. Just I'm going to keep going as I'm going, and then watching out for autonomous driving taking me out of the game.
Yeah.
Thinking about what I'm going to do next.
I think you're safe. I think we're
for
all
the time
safe.
being. Well, you're younger than me, so you may be more.
I think the cars will be able to do it. In fact, they probably already can, and it's regulatory.
Red
slow
tape.
down. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think, and this is not a politics debate, but I don't think we're anywhere near forward-thinking people in charge enough.
No,
I really don't. And even if we were, it still comes to people are not going to afford these cars, so you're still going to have people driving normal, sort of cheaper cars that they will need a license for. So I think we are safe for a long time.
Good.
I'll
I'll go and put a mortgage down on a new house then.
If you had to do a different job, right, what would it be?
I don't know. That's a good question. I've not really put much thought into it. Do you know what, actually? I've always fancied my own wee skanky calf. Greasy Pete's skanky calf. Would you eat it, Greasy Pete's?
Of course.
Yeah?
Of course.
Absolutely.
I feel like I would like a card, like every fifth bacon roll, a stamp, for a free tea or something.
Yeah, absolutely. You can have it. If you're a regular at Greasy Pete's, you can have a free tea every fifth time.
Yeah.
Like my missus does the best hot steak sandwich, and for a long while I was thinking, let's get us a roadside cafe and just sell hot steak sandwiches because honestly, so good.
Now that is a true make your own hours job, right? You open when you want to open.
You sell your hot steak sandwiches. You go home.
You go home and they're sold out.
Yeah.
Maybe
get into festivals and that. That's where the big bucks are.
I like caramel shortbread, so maybe somebody makes that.
So my mum, like I said, she was a chef. She was a pastry chef for a while, and she does killer stuff. I'll get her in.
Yeah.
She can do the pastries. She can do the sweets. We'll get that sorted. What about you? What would you do?
Any jobs going at the calf?
Pot wash. Give me the pot wash.
Train driver, maybe.
Yeah.
Meant to be good money for just forward and backwards. I think they've got a bit more to worry about than that. But
I was going to say there's a reason they get paid the big bucks.
Yeah.
But I do believe that if anything happens, they get to retire.
Yeah. I mean, that must be pretty hard to deal with. But I think in general, if you don't have that happening,
then it's not. Yeah,
you're not steering, right? I don't think it's left and right. I think the train just goes along, and I think you just need to know where to put the brakes on. You know your stops.
yeah, exactly. You see them, the commuters in the morning, and they know exactly where the door's going to be, and they stand exactly there. And then you're there, like as just some random that's never used the train before. And you're like, why do these people all know where to stand? That's crazy.
I get really anxious on public transport. I like buses that's simple. You go on and off or whatever. Even actually with buses, I'm still a bit like, when do I stand up? When do I push the button? I'm not a regular, but something about trains where people are more experienced.
Yeah, they are. They're totally experienced. You've got to know what you're doing. We went out for lunch recently, the wife and I, in Edinburgh, and it was getting to like 5 o'clock, and she was like, "Should we go for a drink?" I'm like, "I'm not going on a rush hour train. Let's get home now, and we'll have a drink back in Dunfermline." Well, she wasn't happy, but there was no way I was getting on a commuter train like stuffed full. No, let's jump on a quiet one.
It just takes me back to the days I used to work. I used to work in South Queensferry, so at the Gael bank.
Mm-hmm.
And some days I'd take the car. Most days I'd take the car, but some days I'd take the train just for a bit of change. And there's just something about so many people packed into a train, and they've got their suit, and I don't want to be part of this.
No,
this world.
No.
But then I'd take the car and I'd get road rage, and I'd be the guy trying to, there's a shortcut, and
absolutely.
I was just miserable back then.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
And I see
Imagine going to and from your work instead of just getting into your car.
Yeah, I see people on the roads now, and you'll see them in the mirror, and they're fucking this and that, and you can tell they're pissed off at you or your learner. And I just sometimes think, oh, what a shame. I used to be that, but I used to be pissed off at life, and I'd hate every learner driver on the road. Oh, why are those in front of me?
Yeah,
and I was just that job. I think that world of
always having to be in a rush to get somewhere. Always. And always having to go through the same rush hour traffic.
For a lot of years of doing this job, on a Wednesday, to take a random day and take a random time, like, so just say Wednesday at 11:20, I'd just be driving past a field or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'd just be like, this is my office.
Exactly. But it goes back to what I was saying about working in the St. James Centre. Dark when you go in, dark when you come out. I can see the world.
Yeah.
From my car. I mean, I'm obviously watching what my learner's doing as well. But you can see the world. You don't. And do they ever ask you, do you get bored of driving around the same streets?
I've been asked it, but the streets are the same, but the drivers are not.
That's my answer. That's what I say. Like everything's, the streets are the same, but you're different.
Mm-hmm.
You're the person I'm focusing on at the moment. I'm not.
Yeah, and
worrying too much about what's going on.
And every now and again, I'll take on someone deliberately who's out with my area, like just for a wee change of scenery. Like I took somebody on from Salon. I don't normally do Salon, but every time I seen this person's name, it was just nice getting out of the city.
Yeah,
getting away and up through, and you'd see sheep and countryside.
Absolutely,
it's a nice wee drive up and down.
Yeah, like I said, I work with people in Queensferry, and I let them choose: are you going to do your test in Dunfermline, or are you going to do it in Curry? Because they're about equidistant, really. And yes, I always love it when they decide to do Curry, because you go and see different things. Even if they're doing the test here in Dunfermline, I'll take them in to Edinburgh anyway. But, it's like the majority of your work gets done in the area where you're going to be tested.
I suppose when you've been around that police station around about 10 times in one day.
In one day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Aye.
Saying, check your left mirror to turn right.
Yeah. Even though what the examiners are going to tell you won't make much sense here.
Check your left mirror to turn right. Even though you're in the lane, feeds into that lane. If that guy beside you wants to go in that lane, you're going to have to take evasive action. The only way you're going to know is by checking that left mirror.
It happened recently to someone. They failed for a couple on Eastport, and they took the right lane to take the middle lane to go round to Edinburgh. It was all fine with the lanes, but the left check wasn't good enough for one of the examiners. Yeah. And I just feel that it was explained to them in a way that was like, I'm sure she said something like, people in that middle lane can take the middle lane. And you're like, no, they can't. If you're in that middle lane, they shouldn't. I mean, they might.
Yeah, it's physically possible,
but
they shouldn't.
But they shouldn't do it. I mean, so why fail someone for not checking.
For somebody else's mistake. For somebody else's potential mistake.
Yeah, they didn't do it. There was no mistake.
There was no one there. Yeah.
I'd give them advice and say a bit, like, I don't know.
I had exactly the same. I had one that got a serious fault for that. And I was like, fair enough. I tell them, like, check your left mirror.
Was it?
No.
No?
No, the other one.
Okay. They must talk.
They must do. They must do. Did you hear about Darren asking me to jump in his car after he'd had a serious fault on the Bothwell Gardens roundabout?
Darren Miller?
Yeah.
What was the fault?
So turning right from Queen Margaret to Bothwell. No, not to Bothwell, Netherton Broad.
Uh-huh.
Right, third exit. So his learner comes down in the right-hand lane and then almost just before coming off to go down Bothwell Street, with the right signal on, it goes to the right so that they're now in the left lane.
Okay.
So they've jumped to the left lane
right.
too early, apparently.
Yeah.
Even though the road markings clearly state to use that left lane to take the exit for Netherton Broad. And so his student got a serious fault for moving over too early and for the steering being too sharp.
Mm-hmm.
What if people on Bothwell had pulled out in front of them?
Mm-hmm.
So he took me down there and he was like, this is how I teach it. What do you teach? And this and that. And I was like, you're right. I can see where you're coming from. And I don't think you're wrong. As long as your mirror checks and your signal are telling people where you're going, if they pull out in front of you, that's them. That's not you.
So I get them to stay on the inside for longer, like cling to that inside lane, and then I don't know. There's just a point where
You've got to just check your mirrors and move.
Yeah,
you've got to. I teach a bit later than Darren does, but I can see where he's coming from. I can't see why that would be a serious fault.
I had someone the day come up to Nationwide up past the Vida pitches. I says turn right, third exit into the old, Petrive Industrial Estate, right lane. Inside past one, inside past two, and then all of a sudden, mirror signal darted basically what you're saying, to that side, and then carried on, and it felt really unnatural. And I says, you've done something not quite right there with your position, but in theory, it wasn't wrong.
No,
it just felt wrong.
Yeah, yeah, it's got to feel smooth, doesn't it?
Aye.
It has to feel smooth. If it feels like you're taking a sudden change of direction, then people aren't going to expect it.
That's right. That's what felt wrong.
The key is predictability, consistency, and knowing what you're doing, planning.
Yeah. It was technically not wrong. It just didn't feel right.
No, absolutely.
Strange one,
eh? Yeah. Anyway, probably need to cut all that out.
We might cut that.
Yeah, probably cut that.
Well, do you know what time it is, Pete?
What time is it?
It's time for jingle. We've done it. I mean, we're an hour and 15.
Well, we'll definitely have to cut quite a bit then.
But as I say, everyone so far has got longer and longer. Should I make this a two-parter, maybe? Pete part one.
I don't think it's that interesting. a lot of it's just nonsense, Gary. Just go slice.
It's just drivel.
Production is your name.
Yeah.
Production. You gotta know when to slice.
Smoke and mirrors. Well, we've done it. We're out. Thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. All I need to do now.
Very good.